Hey, I'd like to share with you one of my practices for self-creation that utilizes my discomfort with the way other people are acting or the things that they're doing. So I was with my mentor, and he was taking me on a little field trip from his office around his neighborhood, his home office around his neighborhood, and his beautiful Porsche. And we drove out of his driveway. We started like this loud engine up in the Porsche, right? It's huge, deep, powerful rev. We drove out of his driveway, turned, and then stopped the car right in front of the house across the street. And then he starts to tell me a story about the people inside and who they are and their life. And then we go on to the next house, and he tells me a story about those people. And we go on this drive around his neighborhood, not just his street, but street after street after street, pulling up in front of house after house after house, and parking out in front, and him telling me stories about the people inside. And each of these stories contained some kind of lesson for life, and we were creating. This is what him and I do. And throughout this journey, though, there was a thread of experience that I was having that was growing inside me as we were going through it. And it was an unease in my belly. The more houses we stopped in front of, the more unease I felt. And so the first thing I did is notice that unease, right? I mean, you want to have some mindfulness of your experience you're having in your body, your feelings, because that's how your subconscious is communicating with you. It's through a felt experience, through an internal kinesthetic dynamic emotion moving, right? So the first thing is I noticed that. And the next thing I did is I asked the question I love to ask myself when I feel something. I presence myself to the feeling and I ask, what's this about? What's this about? And I do this kind of thing with my fingers. I think I learned from my friend James Tripp. It's like a felt sense Eugene Gendlin talks about, but this, what's this about, right? Like as if I'm feeling the emotion feeling. What's this about? And I just sit with the feeling and ask that question, and eventually my mind gives me language to represent that feeling. And I'm feeling it and I'm asking, what's this about? And it's like, this is like, whoa. I can see that it would be really beautiful to have this many people in my neighborhood or my world that I'm in relationship with, but something about that's uncomfortable. See, I started to project on, well, I could do that. I could know this many people and this many things that are going on in their life. And as soon as I started to consider and contemplate that possibility, I started to feel uncomfortable. So, but just contained in that, first of all, is a principle I've shared in the past many times, and I want to just point it out here as well. One of the best hacks, we could say, at knowing what it is we want is to pay attention to the things that are uncomfortable. So the general principle is that discomfort is the shadow of desire. So I only feel discomfort for something when there's something in me that wants that. And then there's some fear or pain around the idea that I can't have it or I don't have it, right? So I'm only feeling discomfort right now. There's two things going on, right? There's discomfort, and I gotta see what's this lack of self-belief or lack of self-love, or what's going on there that has me feel uncomfortable. And remember, the only reason I could possibly feel uncomfortable is because there's something that I want that's prodding or poking the fear that I can't have it. So two insights are happening simultaneously. One, I'm figuring out there's some capacity for relating in the world that is in me, that's being realized through this experience. It's like it's sparking that in me. It's bringing it to life. It's showing it to me. And at the same time, it's showing it to me through an uncomfortable feeling, because it's that thing, that desire being activated is touching a shadow, is touching a fear in me that I can't have that. And so what's that about? So what's that about? First got me to this awareness that this feeling is about the fear of being able to having too many people in my life, and I couldn't. And so what's that about, right? So I just follow the rabbit, I call it. Follow the rabbit of the feeling, the what's that aboutness. Wow, what's that about? It's like, wow, it's just, there's a fear that I couldn't manage that many relationships. How does this guy do this? How does he remember that many names, that many stories? And geez. And wow, what's that? That's interesting. And I follow the rabbit. And I said, well, what's that about? Why am I worried? Like, what's the fear of having so many relationships with so many people? I guess I'm worried that I wouldn't be able to show up for them all, or that I wouldn't be able to maintain that kind of relationship. Sure, I could meet people and learn about their stories and help them once, but I couldn't continue to stay in their life. I don't have the time for that. You can feel the pulse start going up. I mean, that's like, wow, I couldn't manage that many. So the fear of having that many people in my life is the fear that I would let one of them down. So deeper down, there's a fear of not being enough for people in relationships, in friendships. Oh, that's familiar. I've seen that before. I remember that friend in college that him and I had a falling out, of that other friend in college that stopped being my friend. And it's like, that really hurt. And I must carry some of that in me. Oh, wow, interesting how that's showing up right here. Where else might that show up? How else might that manifest? Oh, well, so if I'm afraid of that, how am I holding back from that in my life? And I snap and I think to walking into a cafe and wanting to ask the person's name and thinking to ask their name and sometimes asking it, but sometimes holding back because I know I'm going to come back another day, and if I don't remember their name and they remember mine and we had this convo and I don't remember, it's like I'm letting them down, not being a good potential friend or whatever. And so, wow, interesting. I follow the rabbit from the feeling and I see that there's some in me, there's two things. There's this desire to create and have relationship with more people, and at the same time there's the fear that I wouldn't be able to manage that many relationships. So therefore that manifests in me holding back from expressing a moment of intuitive giving or asking with a new human being that I'm meeting for the first time or second time, that would create the possibility of a deeper knowing, because I fear that knowing not being able to be maintained. So the cool thing is once I see that, first of all, I have agency and choice over it. I might not be comfortable with it yet, but at least I have agency and choice. And so now, as a response to that, as a means of growing myself, I'm doing two things. The first thing I'm always doing is forgiving myself for this idea, believing this idea that I'm not enough for people at the deepest level. And then also from a kind of logical perspective shift, I'm adopting a new perspective that just because I create a beautiful connection with somebody in a moment doesn't mean that I owe them or have to be anything more for them from that moment on to infinity. I can have something beautiful and that can be all I ever have until I have something beautiful with them again. But just being friendly with the person doesn't mean I have to show up at a certain level of friendship for them indefinitely. And so therefore I can be with people as truly, authentically, as openly as I possibly can, or is there for me to be at any moment, without getting caught up in a potential future in which I might not be enough, because I don't even have the idea that there is a future with us or is not a future with us. I just lop that whole thing right off, and then I kind of almost bypass the fear of not being enough later because I don't have enough in me. It's not that I don't have enough in me. I don't have later in me. I don't have future in me in that moment, and therefore whether I'm enough or not enough is no longer relevant. You follow that? Okay. So, and then at the same time, then that's the inner work, right? Changing my perspective, where now is the thing that matters. Doesn't matter about the future. I'm loved. I'm enough. Beautiful, great, relaxed, easy, present. And then an external thing, one of the things I'm practicing is using the context that I realized of going into places like as a customer service person and always asking a person's name. And then when I meet that, it's like, okay, I can start doing that as a practice. And then as I started that practice, I realized I had a story that practice was banging up against, right? I had a story, I'll tell you what that is in a second. But it's like I go and I'm about to ask somebody's name, or I ask somebody's name, and then I started to feel this feeling of discomfort. It's like, yeah, that's still that familiar feeling of, oh my gosh, what if I can't remember their name and I don't maintain this connection that I've created right now? But what's this about? What's going on there? Just listen for the thoughts that are beneath the surface, that are just cresting, just coming up to the surface with that feeling. It's like, wow, I heard a familiar phrase, and that was, I suck at remembering names. Well, that one really supports that feeling. And it also supports the habit of not remembering names. And so now one of the things I say to myself every morning, after I say the phrase that I've been saying for a long time, which is, I am a champion for everyone, really connecting with being a champion for people. That's one of my favorite things that I connect with. And I remember everybody's name. I remember everybody's name. I just remember names of everybody. And that's an idea, a story that I'm inculcating into my mind to create a way of thinking about a person's name when I ask them, that has it go in instead of get batted away or bounced off with the story that I don't remember names. And it's also an idea that was born from a counter idea that I don't remember names, and it's an idea the idea, I don't remember names, again, going in reverse, came from me asking myself, what's this about? And listening when I'm not feeling something comfortable. I love feeling uncomfortable. I love it because it's the south needle on a compass. North is my truth, where I want to go, who I am. South is the opposite direction. And so if I know south, I know north. That's why I love discomfort. That's why I love to feel anxiety or fear or frustration. Any of these subtle feelings that aren't comfortable, I want them because if I know south, I know north. And if I can heal south, I can access north. And so there it is. There it is. Today is the perfect day for you to create who you are. You are loved and you are powerful, and I am loving you simply for your being here. I will talk to you soon.